Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Motion with Nav. Sorry it's been a while, I've been really busy, but today I'm here with a really good tutorial for you, and today we're going to be doing a project breakdown on the project that I work for MDX. Check it out.
Mastering motion design on your own can seem challenging. It is common to feel lost and isolated and to have creative blocks. On the other hand, collaboration allows us to stretch beyond what we ordinarily would not achieve alone. This is why Motion Design Experience MDX exists. We let you express your craft in its natural form while connecting with other talented creators and resources. Here, we are celebrated, recognized, and appreciated. Welcome to the future of motion design, where you can enjoy your experience. It's a good thing we're not just a community, we are a lifestyle.
So this will probably be a very long video, so make sure you do watch it and make sure you watch out for the tags so you can skip to where if you think it's more important for you. Alright, make sure you do enjoy. The project file is actually the link in the description. If you're actually going to be getting the project file for this project, you'll be supporting me by just paying the token. So make sure you do that, and I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys after the video.
Alright, so I'm going to start with the pre-production process, right? And what you're seeing right here is Marathon. This is what I used to organize my project, get all the details from the client, such as what's about the brand, or more about the brand actually, which is brand personality, the brand assets. So by the click here now, you can see some of the assets here, the color, the theme, the logo, font, quite interesting stuff. And I've been able to get some details from the client. They give some reference, which is the School of Motion Manifesto or Motion Arch and Manifesto. If I click on this link, it will take me directly to this link. And if I move down to the pre-production process here, which is the brand story visual treatment. So if I don't click this is just how I tend to interpret the brief. So this is actually the script here, and how I intend to visually interpret of the lines or of the scenes basically. So then I have the mood board. These are some of the things that I gathered from the mood board for the project, which is really cool, and among so many other things. So this is what I use to just gather those details and stay organized. So the next thing here is actually the storyboard, and this is Adobe Illustrator. This is what I use to come up with my storyboarding basically. I did some sketch, but my sketch are really terrible. You don't need to see them. So actually just go straight to Adobe Illustrator and then try and flesh out those details. And if I have to zoom in very well here, these are some of the details that I came up with for the scene with the whole computer scene thing here going on there. So as you can see, all of these are all meshed together. And basically when I'm doing my storyboard, I do them in black and white, just for me to see the contrast and see how the color will be implemented later. Yeah, that is that. And if I actually ungroup this, you can see that eventually all of these are actually in their own group. Yeah, among so many other things. Yeah, and I think one interesting thing, all of these things are actually basic shapes, right? One other thing, some things actually change, like all these shapes that I use. Some of the feedback that I got was I need to make it very coherent with the branding. So all the shapes change to the brand asset itself. Maybe one thing that I can show you how I get to achieve is this spiral. That might be one thing that might be maybe a little bit complex for some, or you might be just be curious to know how I get to achieve that in Illustrator. So if I undo this, I can just let me just drag it out here. So let me just ungroup this and then show you how I get to achieve this. So you can see that this is just a duplicate. Let me undo this as well. Yeah, you can see that this is just one of this, and you might be wondering how I get to create this. It's quite simple. All I did was to create a rectangle. Let me do something. Let me just try and do this so that you can see things clearly. So I just delete this. Let me zoom into this now. So I'll create a rectangle out of this. So first of all, you would have your native polygon like this. Then I'm holding down my left mouse, and then I click on the down and up arrow to increase size. So I want triangle, so I'm just going to hold down Ctrl to have something like this, and I can drag it to the center, and I can just rotate it 90 degrees like this, then just drag this forward a little bit. I was holding down shift, forward down shift, then I can help this Basically what I did was to apply effects and go to warp and apply, I believe, wave. Yes, waves. So if I increase this, make sure the preview is on for you to see some results. So if I want this to have some more details like this, right, even some more kind of details basically. But basically this is how I get to achieve it, just editing the bend basically, and you can see how I get to achieve this. And then I just click OK, and the way I duplicated it was actually quite simple. Before I even duplicate it, I'll have to make sure that I expand this. So I'll go to my object, then go to expand appearance, and what I will do is to turn it to a whole shape. Right now I need to just rotate it, right? I'm going to click on R for rotation first, and then I'm going to hold down Alt, make sure it's at the center, and click on this anchor there and hold down Alt so I to target the anchor, and then I can come here and just put in values 360 divided by how many copies do I want? Let's say 6 copies. I'll put 6, so 360 divided by 6, and then I'll make sure that this preview is on. I'll click on, instead of me clicking on OK, I'll click on copy, and then I can just do Ctrl D to repeat the same process, right? That is how I get this wave, and all I did was just Ctrl G to group it, then Ctrl C, Ctrl F, and then rotate the other ones the other way, and then maybe I'll change the color of that one to this, and then they can have your wave. So this is how I get to create the wave basically. Yeah, and this is actually the storyboard. Like some things will change, then just go straight to the style frames, and then this is the style frames. Let me take it to the rough style frame where I was developing some assets and trying to figure out 1 or 2 things, right? This is it, very rough, but this is the final style frame. As you can see here, right, I use the brand colors for me to use all the colors and things like that. So yeah, so that's all for the pre-production process. There's actually more, but I won't be able to cover it because of time. But now we are going to go straight into After Effects and then start doing some of the magic. So we're here in After Effects, and as you can see, I have tons of layers, and I have pre-coms. So let's just jump right into it. But it's a lot to cover. So I was just going to do it scene by scene. As you can see, I have some audio here. This audio actually is the voiceover, so I didn't really cut the music because initially somebody else was supposed to work on the sound design. So I was just cutting to the voiceover basically. That's why I have all this audio file here. And the next thing I have here, which you cannot see right now, is the animatic. I've soloed this now. This is the composition that I have for the animatic, just for me to arrange the voiceover accordingly, right? So I'll know my timing, and that's basically what I did here. And then after I'm done, I was able to know the timing, and for me I realized that I'll need more scenes actually. That's why it's very good to go through all the production or pre-production process, so you're able to know the things you might need to add on later. So that's it for the animatic, which is practically the storyboard, but just stagger them in a way that matches with the voiceover. So now I'm going to start with the first scene. So if you actually check my layers, you can see that they are stacked in a way that first scene followed by the second scene and things like that. First, I would like to do with this scene 1, and I have a pre-comp here. So if I go into this, I have all of this here, all of this action thing going on here. So what I did was each of these scenes or each of these screens per se, I actually pre-comp them. So if I double click any of this, you can see this is what I have here. I was able to bring them in using overload, very important overload, to bring all those Illustrator into After Effects. And then I just make sure that all these screens or all these UI elements, they all pre-come on their own basically, and in them they have their own animation and all. And what I did was to make sure that I have Euro elements, which is all of them are formatted to, right? So this is the Euro element. So if I activate this now and then solo this, let me say, so this is where this just snaps in back, right? And this just helps with the animation that I have here to it's cut into this scene, into this ball scene. That is why I have this hero element scene here. I think some other things that actually introduced into this that might be really interesting for you to know is actually some of the assets that I introduced are actually 3D stuff. So I actually use element 3D for this. So if I have to check some of my layers, you can see eyedropper. So let me just solo this for a second, and then you can see this eyedropper and this hourglass. You can see that they're actually 3D stuff. So let me just zoom in a little bit so you guys can have a better view. You can see this is actually 3D stuff. Let me go to the other one as well. You can see that this is actually 3D too as well. And if I have to go to my element 3D Element 3D is a plugin from Video Copilot. I really recommend it if you are looking to do some 3D stuff. That's what I use to actually have this into my scene. So if I click on scene setup, this is what we have, and you can see all of these things are grouped. So group 1, I have this eyedropper 2, and what I did was to actually, I modeled it in Cinema 4D, then I now imported it in as a model inside as Element 3D, and I was able to apply my colors and my shading and things like that. So that's how I get to do this. So let me just show you an example. So if I have to import another 3D model, right, these are some of the ones that I've used in the past. So if I select this and click on open, I'm gonna have some options here. I'm just gonna click on OK, and by so doing, let me hide this. You can see that I have this 3D model that I've actually worked on before, right? So this is how I get to just infuse my 3D into 2D. I'm not a fan of doing Fox 3D in native After Effects. I've told myself I will never stress myself like that way. So that is that. So I'm just going to cancel this. Yes, cancel. Basically the same way I did for all the anchor. Let me just quickly show you this anchor. You can see this anchor thing going in there. It looks very flat, but it's actually 3D. Yeah, every other thing is just fine. So I just have all of those things animated. So they're actually 3D too as well, because I have 3D camera, and I just have all this scale in, scale out. I have a little bit of overshoot and anticipation and things like that to it. So let me just leave scene 1, and then if you notice here that it looks like a fish eye effect, and that's because I actually added on the scene 1 itself, I actually added optics compensation. So without this is what it looks like with this. So this just gives some kind of depth basically. So let us go straight to scene 2. There are other things going on here, but they're actually quite simple. So just some nulls attached to some things and all of that. So scene 2, basically what I did was to make sure that I have the hero elements just coming down this way, and then right here I have the hero element here. So if I press Q, you can see the keyframe that I use here. So animated echo. So I formally use echo, all right, and this is where you would notice where I use echo, but I actually didn't use echo because I found a better plugin that does way better job without stress, which is Cartoon Moveler, which is really good. So and that's why I was able to do this rag thing. So without this, now I just have this simple animation here. So that's it. So now I want to show you how I get to achieve this particular shape here. Let me try and solo it so I can see the shape I'm talking about. You can see, and you can see that it puffed up from the ground, and that's because I had select the right one, which is this. I have the path animation animated here. So I also have the drop shadow animated, because I actually had a drop shadow, and I was able to animate the opacity. And the essence of that is if I deactivate this, you can see, let me just zoom in a little bit. You can see the shadow here, just to give it some kind of depth. So I animated the path of the top shape just going up, and then I just have that animated. That's how I get to achieve that. Same with the other shape here, and then I just have these bursts of these shapes. They're just simple position animation. Going straight into the next scene, I have just simple animation of those shapes coming together basically, and then I just have them come together and then scale in using this node above it. You can see that I have the scale animation there. And basically the simple line that I see there, I think is this line here. So let me solo it so that you can see it's actually a straight line, right? I added a twirl effect, and I was able to animate the angle, right? And also added transform effects to it. So I also animated the scale. So as it's twirling, I also make it scale down, also change the twirling so that it will just reinforce the movement of those shapes. Basically that was the essence of that's actually the essence of this little line twirling in there. So going further, I just stacked some ellipse shapes, of course stroke, and basically let me just solo one or two, maybe you can get to see them. Okay, let me just solo this. So basically it's just an ellipse, and I make sure it's a round cap or box, not a box cap, round cap, and that's how they are like this. I also animated the stroke width, the trim path, and the offset and the opacity. So basically this is what I did. I just have this animated, and then I duplicated, and then I arranged them basically throughout. So that was how I was able to achieve all of this. And then I just have them scaling out. I have this not adjustment layer, I think it's a null. If I press U on this, yes, it's a null, which I just scale to form that zoom effect into the next scene. And then I just have the MDX logo itself, just review from the last second, and then just review. Then if you notice, I have these two balls bouncing. That might be something you might be interested in. So let's just dig into that. So I think this is a pre-comp or particle bounce. And if let me just switch to screen. And if let me just preview this. Yes, this is it, right? So basically what I did was simple. So I animated the ball bounce, this ball bounce. First of all, I think I worked with the reference of the MDX logo. And with that reference, I was able to just know where exactly I want the ball to bounce from. And also I added the scale properties to it so that it can just come closer to the camera basically. And then I parented this ball and every other thing to the MDX layer here. But basically I didn't really need this because it's actually in the main composition. So the first thing I did was to animate this ball bounce. If you don't know how to do ball bounce, I actually have a tutorial on that. Make sure you do check it. I'm pretty sure I'm putting a link right there right now. You can see my ball bounce value graph. So that's how I was able to achieve this. And then the next thing was to just introduce some elements, some interesting elements. Because where ball is bouncing, I want to be some reaction. So it's almost the same kind of animation, the same kind of graph basically, but I just targeted where the ball will bounce and then it can have some kind of reaction and have multiple balls basically. And that's what brought about all of this, right? So if I just play this now, right, you can see that's basically what I did. And then I just changed the color. And then one other thing that actually reinforces that is the little lines that I have here, right? So let me activate one of it first. So this line, so you can see this line is just a simple pen tool drawn line. So I just use my pen tool to just draw this out like this. And then basically I now use trim path. So let me just I use trim path to animate that part in a certain way, of course making sure that I use the right ease. So this is the value graph. If I go to the speed graph, this is the right ease that I use for it, right? And if I play this is what I have. So that in itself just reinforces movement. Know when you have raindrops. So that's like the idea. And then I just duplicated that and then make sure it reflects like I reflected to view on the other side. So I just give us that same idea there. Then the last ones were let me see. Yes, I just duplicated these two again and then reposition them anyway. So if I play all of this together now, this is what I have. And basically what I did was to just pre-comp everything. So let me go back, pre-comp everything, which is this. So if I solo this, so let me first of all deactivate the MDX. Don't need this. So let me go back. So this is it. So basically what I did was I pre-comp and I duplicated it and I flip it to the other side. That I have these two particles, going in that direction. And of course compositing that with what I have already, you get this kind of nice animation. This was actually inspired from School of Motion, I think Animation Bootcamp, something I saw on their YouTube. I'm pretty sure you can get this done using particles, but I just thought if I can do it manually, why not? So yes, so the next thing now was I had this scaled in and then I just animated this into as well. So and for that I have my spiral animation here. This is how I get to do it. So let me just try and solo each of these layers. So I actually have all of them pre-comp in one. So and this is the shape here. You can see that the shape is a straight line, but what I've done was to add wave warp to it. So you can check the effects that I added here. So I added wave warp to it. So without wave warp, this is what I have. And the reason why it's actually a stroke, but the reason why it's looking more like a triangle is because I went straight to the stroke itself and I went straight to the taper and I make sure that this is at 100, right? The start length is at 100. That's why I have something like this, and then adding wave up to it, having something like this automatically just gives us this. Then so the next effect that I had was linear wipe, and that's what makes this happen, the transition 8 repealing. So I just animated the transition completion, and that's how I was able to do this. So basically all I did was to pre-comp just one of this, and then rotated them, and of course added different kind of colors. And for this project I actually used a script or a plugin, Gray Dynamic Color, and that's what I was able to easily use to color all my layers that are not yet colored. So basically, so I just apply same animation, rotated them, offset them, and then that's how I was able to achieve this. Then of course I saw I have some lines as well. I think the single line, let me solo this. I think this is it here. Yes, basically the same line, but now this time around just make sure that the stroke width is actually quite small, which is like 4 pixels. So yeah, that's basically it on how I get to achieve this. And then I just make sure that I had some shape coming into the scene as well. So lastly here, basically what I have right now is just the circle that I have here. So let me just try and adjust this so that you guys can be able to see, because I really want you to see my blend mode. This is my blend mode, and this one is actually the matte. Right on top of it you can see I have this just scaled down to this point. And if you also notice, right, all my curves, you know, when you learn about match cut, you know there's a way you have to do your curve whereby the next thing you have to, you know, flow accordingly, right? That's why I have my curves this way. Yeah, that's basically it for this. And I did stencil alpha. So stencil alpha just marks everything underneath your layers, which is really, really good if you want to achieve something. Instead of you alpha matching everything to the layer, you can just use stencil alpha. Now let's move on to the next thing. Then I cut straight to this point, and basically these are just simple shapes with dots all around. I think these are actually quite simple. But then I think the complex thing that I did here was when it now twisted to the side, you know, forming that like 3D perspective, right? And you can see that there's some form of depth in it, right? And that's because if I go into the comp here, this comp here, you notice that this comp here is actually Cinema 4D. So if I open this up, so they're actually extruded. Of course, this one is not extruded. So if I look straight down to this particular one, so you can see they have some form of extrusion. So if I open this up, you see the extrusion is about 10. That was how I was able to get them look this good, I guess. So, and of course I also have my camera here, and I also have my parallax null here. So if I press U, so is the null that is actually controlling the movement on how it's going from, you know, the front view that we have into the side view. So I just limited the position and rotation for that, and then for preparing for the next scene, I just, you know, move it to the side for the next phase basically. So let's go back to this, and if I have to just take this back a little bit, you can see that I have the hero element coming into the scene again to form these words. And these are just simple positioning, scale, bouncing animation basically, and I just add some effects to reinforce the movements, like some scale effect, like radial effect at the background to just reinforce the movement for that. And then of course doing some match cuts, tracking the text, and then cutting to the next thing, and then changing of colors. And also, sorry I'm running through this. If you want specific tutorials on any of these things that I'm just showing you, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to do that. Because of time, I don't want this to be too long so that people don't just find it boring and lose interest. So I just want to quickly touch on the key part basically. Alright, so let me just quickly keep going. Yeah, I think one other interesting thing that I might need to touch on is this transition, right? So basically at this point, when I have this shape here, I now wanted to transition into the next scene. So you can see that even from one frame here to this next frame, you can see the change already. I just make sure that my previous scene just aligned perfectly to the next scene for me to be able to make that transition. You know, you can see that this is actually 3D. And if I go into this pre-comp, which is my scene 9 pre-comp, so for this particular one specifically, this is the layer that forms all of this. So let me just double click this and see what it is that I did here. So basically what I did was simple. I actually used Cinema 4D for this. So I went straight to Cinema 4D and just have like a simple cube, and I of course make sure I adjusted the shape according to what I really want. Just in case you don't know, you can actually bring this in my 4D file and then still be able to do your thing. And then let me just quickly open this up so that you guys can see how exactly I was able to do the texturing in Cinema 4D. So this is the Cinema 4D file right now, and if I just play this, you can see this is the camera movement. This is exactly what I did, and let me just show you how I get to texture this. So basically, if I go to the material option here, if I double click this, let me just quickly show you. So I use luminance alone. That's what gives you the flat look. But then I also added texture on top of it. So if I go into the texture, I added tiles, and then I just decided to change some of the colors, adjust some variables here, and that's how I was able to achieve this in the Cinema 4D. So let me just close this and then we'll move on. So basically, when I did this, and then I just make sure I match it straight with the 2D shape that I originally have. So I just make sure that this is the 2D part of it. So I just make sure that this just aligns perfectly with it. In short, I think I did some frame by frame animation, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to make sure that they align perfectly. You can actually see the changes there. So let's go back to the rest of the things that are here. So that's the first thing here, which is this tower. Then every other thing, let me quickly touch on that. So all of this actually from Element 3D, which I've showed you how I get to create some of those 3D animation. I've showed you that already. So but basically what I did was to just make sure that I have a camera and then just zooming in while those objects are actually going in. So let me know if you just want to see full tutorial on how I achieve this thing, and I'll be happy to do that. So let's quickly go into the next scene. So yeah, and then I just must cut to this point where all these things are just bouncing in. And then the next thing was this transition. I know that people would like to, some of us would like to know how I get to achieve this transition. There's something I've told myself, if there's anything that I can easily achieve in 3D, I'm not going to stress myself to do in 2D. That's why I see a lot of 3D element, 3D, Cinema 4D infused into this animation, even though it's a flat 2D animation, right? So I actually achieved this using Cinema 4D. So if I double click on this, you can see that this is actually the rendered file from Cinema 4D. And let me just change this to quarter so that it can render really well. So basically this is what I did, right? This is the rendered file, and then I just composite it with what I have in the main scene. So let me quickly show you that in Cinema 4D too as well, how I get to achieve that. So this is actually the Cinema 4D project, as you can see. So basically what I did was actually very simple. I was just to create a flat rectangle, and I used bow. So let me just unsolo some things here so that you guys can see what's going on. So this is basically what I did. So I have this object which I've actually made editable, but basically what I did was to create a plane and then use bow to do that. Let me quickly show you. I know that this might take more time, but let me quickly show you how I get to achieve that. So let me just quickly go to a new project and then use plane, then rotate it this, let's say this way, height reduce, let's work with this, and then I just have a cube, and let's say reduce the radius to about 100, right? I have something like this. Then I'll just bring in some of this I can't remember what they're called. I want to believe they're called modifiers, but if not, somebody will correct me in the comment section, I believe. Right, so basically this is the bow. That's what it does. So you can use to subtract from one shape or the other, and that's how I get to achieve this. So the next thing I did was to just let me deactivate the material for now so that you guys can see what I did. So the next thing I did was to just have cloners. Let me deactivate all of this. Okay, I think I actually need material, so let me just put it back so that I can see it clearly. Okay, great. So basically I put them into cloners, right? And then I added plane effector. I used the parameters was scale, just scale, and I've used -1. So if I activate that and activate my field, I use a linear field to drive that scale. So that's why you can see that everything is not all the same, right? And I wanted this to be like this actually. That's actually the aim. And then for the material, I just added a simple luminance again, but a simple gradient all around it. If I click on this now, you can see this is a simple gradient I added so that I can see the edges. So the edges can actually give the depth for transition. Yes, I have a camera, so let me zoom out. Okay, I think the camera is somewhere in the middle, so let me just pick this back. Yes, so this is the camera, right? Okay, it's actually coming from this angle. Okay, great. So this is the camera. All I did was to just animate the camera to come from behind and into the main scene itself. So we're going to the camera. This is what I will have, and you can see the effect of the gradients, right? And that's what is giving it this, right? So basically that's how I get to achieve the transition, and I just print that out and then I did my compositing. So basically I brought this in, and I don't know why I have double of that. Oh, okay, cool. So I think I did something really cool here. So basically if I unsolo this, so so this is the normal one, right? And you can see that the first one has just, I applied curves to it to bring out the depth of the gradient, and I also tinted it so that I can have the brown colors. And then I was experimenting here, that's why I find edges, but I didn't use it on this. So basically what I did was to duplicate it, and then this time around I now use the same effect, but then I now use 5 edges as to isolate the edge, and then I added deep glow to it so that I can have something really cool going on here. So if I composite this together with this, make sure the blend mode for this is screen, as you can see here. Let me just try and adjust this. As you can see, a screen, and that's why I have something really cool like this, right? So, and that's how I get to achieve the transition, right? The transition is in way shorter, and then basically all I did was to just, for the logo animation at the end, I just add a simple shape animation here. So if I solo this too, right? So basically this is what I have: simple shape, animating the scale and positioning, and then to just join into the main logo animation at the end, right? Yeah, that's basically it. I really hope you guys learned something from this, and if you still want to dig in deep, you still want to know how I get to achieve some things that I didn't really cover, I would advise you, get the project files, and they can really dig in deep and see how I get to achieve these things, right? Yes, by you getting the project files, you'll be supporting me, and just a token, and I'm pretty sure you would really enjoy whatever you see in there. So in addition, you can actually go to my Behance page and check the full project case study, and I'm pretty sure you will have a lot to learn from this, and also still check out some of the details I probably have left out. Make sure you check the link in the description.
Hope you really do enjoy that. If you do, make sure you click on the thumbs up button. And of course, if you would like to see more of this, more project breakdowns, actually I'm going to be doing project breakdowns from now actually, but if you want to see more project breakdowns, please let me know in the comment section, and then I'll see you guys in the next video.